The Lord of the Rings Online, or LOTRO, is an MMORPG released in 2007, and it remains, in my humble opinion, one of the best adaptations of Tolkien's works. In this video, I'll try to show you the hidden, or not so hidden, details that make the world of LOTRO so immersive and lively. This time we'll take a look at the Shire, and while it's not officially part of the Shire, I will include some details from Buckland as well. We will begin with some details related to Frodo's journey out of the Shire. And there's of course only one place to start, and that's Bag End. In the movies this detail is lost, for simplicity probably, but Frodo actually sells Bag End to the nasty Sackville Bagginses, the cousins of Bilbo. And he leaves after dark with Sam and Pippin towards his new house in Buckland, where Merry is already headed with all of Frodo's belongings. This is why in the game you can see Lobelia and Lotho Sackville Baggins sit in front of the door at Bag End. And it's also the reason why half of the house is inaccessible in-game, because Lobelia and Lotho just moved in. After the three hobbits leave Bag End, they walk through the fields west of Hobbiton and traverse the Water, which is the small river flowing through Hobbiton. They cross it by a small plank bridge and they head southeast up to the hills and towards the Green Hill County. He looks at the lights of Hobbiton and Bywater in the dark one last time and bids his old home farewell. For how long, he would not yet know. Unfortunately, the plank bridge itself is not present in the game, but after walking for a while, the hobbits take a rest. Sam knows a quite good spot out of the wind, and they will make camp and make some food. They rest well, albeit a bit uncomfortably for hobbit standards. And at night, a fox watches them and remarks the following passage from the Fellowship of the Ring. Pause the video if you want to read the full text. This fox and their camping place is actually present in the game, and the fox can actually be interacted with while you do a quest in something called Chicken Play. Yes, there is a quest in this game where you play as a level 1 chicken. It's ultimately still a video game, I guess. But the fox will tell you the following if you talk to him. Now what is this? First 3 hobbits sleeping in the forest, and now a chicken? This is of course a reference to the 3 hobbits he saw sleeping under the stars when they were leaving the Shire. After resting, the hobbits continue their path, and they have several encounters with a mysterious horseman clad in black. And after walking for the whole day and trying to evade the horseman, they meet some elves in the woods. And these elves invite the hobbits to travel with them for the night, and they make camp near a town called Woodhall. This camp is actually present in the game. It's known as the Abandoned Elf Camp. Although, due to a recently added quest in the game, it's a little bit busier than it used to be and is supposed to be. For the next few details we will be looking at Buckland. Buckland is not officially part of the Shire, and in LOTRO is actually a part of the map of Breland, but I'm counting it anyway because it's convenient for Frodo's story and it's still mainly hobbits living there, so it kind of feels like a part of the Shire. The hobbits eventually cross paths after leaving the elves with Farmer Maggot. Contrary to his actions in the movies, he's actually quite kind and he brings them to the Buckleberry Ferry after offering them some food. In the game, the ferry is unfortunately out of order. They arrive at Frodo's new house in Buckland called Crick Hollow, and they have food, a bath and a short night's sleep before they move on towards Bree. After leaving the house, it actually gets ransacked by the Black Riders. Fatty Bolger, who is a friend of the hobbits, is actually guarding the house, just in case Gandalf shows up, because he should have been there way earlier, but he is delayed by Saruman, as they would later learn. So Fatty Bolger actually flees and he sounds the alarm, and when the alarm goes off, the Black Riders flee themselves, and one of them actually drops a hobbit cloak out of his hands and runs away from the doorstep. so this cloak can actually be found in-game next to the broken door of Frodo's new acquired house. Now, the hobbits the Black Riders were actually looking for had long gone by this point, as the party had entered the old forest next to Buckland as an attempt to escape the Black Riders. They entered through a nearby tunnel under the hedge, which acts as a border of Buckland and the old forest. What they encountered in the old forest I will leave for another video on Breland, but the tunnel itself is present in game and it's one of the several ways to enter the old forest in Lord of the Rings Online. Now we will leave the actual travels of Frodo, we'll continue it in the next video, and look at some more details in the map of the Shire that are not directly related to the story in the Lord of the Rings. So in the prologue of the Fellowship of the Ring, there's actually a lot described about the hobbits, and one thing that's said is that they're generally quite poor swimmers and have an aversion to water and boats. Frodo's parents are revealed to have actually drowned in a boating accident, after all. The exception of this rule are the hobbits who live in Buckland, and on the Brandywine River next to Buckland, a hobbit can actually be found inside a boat enjoying himself on the water, and there are several pieces of dialogue in the map about the hobbit's general aversion towards water. While the Shire might seem like kind of a dull and isolated part of the world, it actually used to be part of the human kingdom of Arthedain, which itself was a part of Arnor. The hobbits were allowed to settle the Shire in 1601 of the Third Age, which is actually also when the Shire reckoning begins, and it's the reason why hobbits keep track of years a little bit differently compared to humans. This is the reason you can actually find many ruins inside the Shire in LOTRO, and some of these ruins actually reveal the ancient lineage of the country, with the 7 stars, which are actually a symbol for Elendil, the father of Isildur. Even the Brandywine Bridge, the main entrance to the Shire, is a relic of the olden days, which the hobbits were actually tasked with maintaining by the King of Arthedain when they got the gift of the Shire. While the Shire's history is mostly peaceful, the hobbits did experience a few moments of turmoil in their history. A famous example is the story of the Battle of the Greenfields, in which one of the tallest hobbits to ever live, Bando Brastuk, beheaded the leader of the goblin army called Golfinbul, and his head flew into a rabbit hole. He won the battle, and it is said he actually invented the sport of golf at the same time. Yes, this is a line which is also used in the first movie of The Hobbit, and it sounds very silly, but it is actually in the book. And the skull of this Golfinbul can actually be found in the game, as a quest in the game will send you to find this skull inside a quarry at a town called Scary. The Shire is described as a very fertile and beautiful country, not too dissimilar from the land in which the Entwives once dwelled, the female counterparts to the male Ents, who were very keen on gardening instead of forestry. Which is why it's not so strange that Treebeard actually asks Merry and Pippin while they're at his house if they have ever seen such creatures inside their country. Unfortunately, they have not. Sam does allude at the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring that his cousin has seen a walking tree inside the Shire. In the game, such a walking tree can actually be found in the north, and during a quest he will try to free this tree from the trappings of a group of spiders. Based on its appearance, it's most likely a huorn, so not an actual ant, but a tree with a lower level of consciousness. And it's possibly the creature that Sam's cousin is supposed to have seen. These huorns are known to be the herd of the ants, so perhaps there are some Entwives in the Shire after all? I guess we will never know. The final 2 details of this video are related to the Scouring of the Shire, which is one of the last chapters of the Return of the King. If you do not know what this chapter entails, I suggest you watch this video by the Nerd of the Rings. I will link it in the description. Or, of course, read the books yourself, because it's personally my favorite chapter in all of them by far. In this quest, you are tasked with unmasking a Black Rider who has been disturbing some pig pens at night. This Black Rider turns out to be just a hobbit playing a prank on the farm owner, although you learn he has been convinced by someone called the Chief to scare the pigs as a joke. The Chief turns out to be Lotho's Sackville Baggins, who wants to scare the farmer into selling his land to him. Chief is also the alias which Lotho will use when he becomes the Chief of the Shire during this chapter, the Scouring of the Shire. So that's a bit of foreshadowing to the end of the Return of the King. There is another quest in game which foreshadows some events of the Scouring of the Shire, and this one sends you to find a missing hobbit who you free from imprisonment by some mysterious men from the south. After bringing the hobbit to safety, he reveals that he snuck into a wagon filled with pipeweed, and he traveled for days and days all the way to a place he calls the Tower, which of course could be nothing else but Isengard. The wagon contained pipeweed, which Saruman transports from the South Farthing of the Shire to Isengard, as is revealed in the chapter Flotsam and Jetsam in The Return of the King, where Merry and Pippin actually find barrels of pipeweed from the South Farthing at a overtaken Isengard. So those are my favorite details from the Shire in The Lord of the Rings Online. If you are a fan of Tolkien, and mainly if you've read the books and you haven't played this game yet, I highly recommend it. Apart from these details, things like place names and character names are also highly accurate. The geography is often a bit condensed because the maps have to be of a manageable size, but chances are if you read some detail about something in the books, you'll find them in the game as well. At the end of coming April 2022, the game will be 15 years old, and when that update hits, a lot of content all the way up until level 95, which is more than half of the content available, will become free for all players, so there has never been a better time to get into this game. If you like this video, feel free to leave a comment and let me know what your favorite details in the Shire are. I've never really made a YouTube video before, so I hope you liked it, and hopefully I'll make another one soon. Thank you very much and enjoy the game.